Reality that needs to be said out loud is that as black men age, their desirability increases. Thus, their optionality of women is always expanding. And the exact opposite is true for black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades, the reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year.
I mean, in listening to it, I could literally take each sentence and dissect it, but I'm not going to do that. So there's nothing wrong with choosing and wanting to have a family early and in college and all that, making the decision. But we have to also factor in the amount of people who got married back then because their parents told them, or religion, or they thought it was the best thing. And as soon as their kids turn 15, whatever, they're all divorced now. And so now there's also men out here with kids who ain't looking for no 23-year-old who wants a woman so she just said a lot of things that were so finite. But where I want her to be careful and take more responsibility as a journalist is like, it's giving doomsday. I don't know any, a lot of the black men I know, there are some who want, younger women, but some don't want to deal with that. Fertility is not the only thing that makes a woman sexy for a pretty nice handful of guys. I also don't know where she got the stat that as black men get older, they increase in desirability. That's also not always the case. And she also was really like, the amount of men in college is really low compared to the men. So it's just a lot of, I don't know where she got all of this stuff, but I don't know in whose reality that this little snippet was so factual that she felt the need to say it and thinks that people should follow it. It was just so much wrong. I don't know.
She did touch on something that I noticed myself, just kind of anecdotally, and I wasn't looking for it. But so I have a nephew and a baby sister, both of whom graduated college in 2001. And I went to both of their graduations without getting too specific. One of them graduated in Southern California. The other one graduated in Atlanta. And I sat at both graduations and I watched the ratio of men and women, young men and women in these graduating classes. And I said, oh, that's interesting. But it seemed like the 7-1 or whatever. That's what it looked like to me. And I'm just projecting that forward into the future. If all of these women want men on their educational level, I'm just talking about the two graduations I went to. If they all want college educated men, they're going to be competing. It's going to be 7-1 trying to, snag that one. That's not a great ratio. And after the graduation, I talked to my nephew. I'll just say he's the one that went to school in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, it was a lot of women at your school. Like, you've been down here having a blast, right? He was like, you don't even know the half. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, he had a great time in college, you know what I mean? And so I got no stats in front of me. I don't know what she's looking at, but just based on the anecdotal shit I've seen, that seems like a real concern. I don't know if I want to say doomsday and all that shit, but it's not something you want to ignore if you care about our next generation and what they're going to be doing as far as matching up.
Well, then should it? Because first of all, I didn't go to college, so these stats mean nothing to me. And a lot of people I know, I don't care what they was doing in college. I wasn't there, so I was dating other men who were still very enterprising. I was in the mortgage industry. I sold real estate. I did all kinds of things where there were still very viable men just because they didn't have a college degree. So
yeah, no, don't take it like that. That's not what I was saying.
No. But this is why I want to open up what she said. It's just too small of a conversation.
Well, but I prefaced what I said is if these women who have college educations, if they're going to desire a man who's on that similar level, they may not give a shit. But women tend to, women just tend to kind of want a guy at or above their level. Not always. Not always.
Yeah, but sometimes, but but that's what I'm saying. So the men who were selling homes while y'all was in class, why wouldn't they be an option? There, you
Don't
can
ask
still
me.
find. I
Don't
mean,
ask me. I think they should be great options.
and
See,
if that's the
But
case, then why is the conversation not, do more Black men need to go to college? Why aren't more Black men in college? Is this not a thing? Or I don't know. I just feel like, but what you're saying, I understand. Yeah.
I think that kind of like, I think Eboni K Williams, she kind of used that particular conversation to kind of enlighten people about what's happening, but not telling the whole story about what's happening. And the reason she did that is because she's a millionaire woman, or multimillionaire, or close to being a millionaire. She makes a lot of money. She
what does she
does
do?
well off.
Just for the record, is it a show?
She's an entertainer, show host, stuff like
Okay.
that. She does different stuff.
All right.
But what the problem is that nowadays women make money like men. The problem is that nowadays women are providing and protecting. They're basically doing what men do. And so the part she left out is it's not just, oh, you need to get an education and find a man to get an educate who has an education and you guys start a family young. No, the issue is men don't like women who make a lot of money. And there's a real reason why. The reason why is because women become very masculine when you make a lot of money. In order to make a lot of money, you got to be very aggressive. You have to be confrontational. You have to do certain things that bring out masculine traits in you because you're competing at a very high level. And so you're going to start to develop traits like a man, and men don't want a woman who has traits like a man. Secondly, if you're able to provide and protect yourself, then men don't see you as vulnerable. Men take care of women and children. Why? Because women and children are vulnerable. But when you start making money for yourself, you are no longer vulnerable. So in our stomach, just from a visceral standpoint, we look at you and go, well, I can't protect you, not because I don't want to, it's because you're actually a man from a from a uh subconscious perspective, right? Not We're not looking at you going, oh, you're a man. No, you got ass and titties. Yeah, of course you're a woman. But from a subconscious perspective, we're like, you can take care of yourself. So what do I need to be around you for? You got money. Plus you act like a man because you developed the personality of a man, acquiring all that money. So why do I need to protect and provide for you when you can already do all these things yourself? The reason why men in college and women in college are doing these is because women in college haven't developed that drive yet, that masculine drive. They haven't been out in the world where they honed that masculine drive. So this is why young women, not only the fertility issue, but also because of the mindset. You're less likely to have experienced a bunch of men. You're less likely to have a lot less experience in life. And you're less likely to have honed in on that masculine trait of working and providing and doing things yourself. So this is why men look at women, the younger women, and go, okay, this is probably a better match for me. And when people are trying to select up and figure out who they want to marry, that becomes very attractive. It's harder to date older women. And I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all. I'm
Yeah,
just
you
saying
about to say
it's
you about
harder to date
to your
older
neck
women.
off, yeah.
No,
Well, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good.
It's
I know
harder
where
to
I
date.
stand.
Right. I'm not saying all older women. I'm just saying it's harder to date older women because older women have been through a lot of trauma with failed relationships, whether they're failed marriages, failed long-term relationships, but also older women have life experience. They've been everywhere, can't really show them too much new. And on top of that, older women also, for the most part, have some type of financial stability where they've been saving up all this money. They bought a home, they bought, different things. And at that point, it's really like, as a man, it's really like, well, there's really no space for me to kind of lead inside of a relationship with you because you kind of already are me. Like you're
I
already
wish,
me.
I kind of wish less men had that mentality, because I feel like a lot of what you're saying is true, but unfortunately, because of that, a lot of it is assumption too. So it kind of keeps men from that. When you talk about visceral, there's a lot of times where I expect more of a like animalistic or primal or more go-getter approach to things, but I feel now everybody's tender footing between what does her lifestyle look like? Does she have this? Does she was and now everybody's like,
And
this
that
is getting
voice.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
that's how
that's what it
niggas is
feels
talking out here.
like. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
no,
No,
Yeah.
because
it's a trip though, because like, which I think you guys might kind of be getting at the same point in that it it is visceral. So when you was like, I wish more men would stop thinking like that. I'm not sure, and KB, you can correct me, but I'm not sure he's saying that this is a conscious thought of, oh, she doesn't need me. Oh, it's just something. It's just something in our gut or being or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, oh, she's hungry. I gotta give her some food. Oh, she's cold. I gotta give her this coat. Oh, she's in danger. I gotta protect. It's not a thought of, oh, she doesn't need me. It's a feeling. So
Hmm.
I feel like it is probably more animalistic than
Yeah.
but
you
is
know.
there a chance now correct me if I'm wrong, because I hear you and that makes perfect sense. Do men, just like women who are older, KB, you just said there's more life experiences, more breakups, more divorces, more this and that. How many men are doing the self work to kind of understand the difference between their trauma and their natural instinct? Because you can say
Very
that
few.
it's, well, but you could say, but when we get these constant memes and you're experiencing trauma and it does change the way you react. It changes unless you've done the work to get a hold on it and make sure you're not moving scared, because
But
I can tell when a man is moving scared, and you know what I mean. So
but I
I
don't
just think there's a
I don't
lot of nuance
but
to it.
I don't necessarily know that work that you speak of is beneficial to men. Like that work
Awareness,
that
self-awareness.
the work that you speak of is beneficial to women.
No,
But I don't necessarily know that it's beneficial to men. And the reason I say I don't know if it's beneficial to men is just because of the selection, right?
selection.
Like Miles said, there's more women than men, and at college or high school or whatever. And so women are looking for certain types of men, and those men are like, well, if I'm in demand, then I can go find a woman who doesn't really have this much trauma. I don't really need to do work to help somebody or cure somebody else's trauma. When if it's supply and demand, right? It's nothing personal. It's just supply and demand. So
But
when
I
we talk
think
about
that
supply and demand, I don't know that it's beneficial for men if the demand is you could just be with a bunch of other girls who are a little younger who don't have this trauma because you're still in demand with them.
but I think that mentality is why the divorce rate is high and women are calling it, because y'all say stuff like what you just said and think you don't got to do no self-awareness work. This isn't feminine work. You don't have to put a towel on your head and go take a lavender bath, but to have some self-awareness and self-mastery and to understand how certain things have affected you and what's not meshing with your life. Or women, sometimes I see men are so in denial, but, oh, I'm ready for a woman, I'm ready, and I'm looking at you like, dude, the way you function, a woman on the level that you think you want, you gotta look in the mirror at some point
I'm
and make a
feeling
little
like
bit of an adjustment.
I'm feeling like you shaming me for my lavender bath, and I don't understand what that's about.
No, but you should. I just had a whole talk on my channel
I'm
where,
fucking around, man.
you know,
I don't even got a bathtub.
but you know
Not
what I'm
that
saying?
not that
Do
I'm
whatever you
above taking a
want, you
bath.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just like I said, I me personally, I like younger women. I like older women. I love beautiful women. And me personally,
Anything that moves.
anything that moves, yeah.
And you seem like
Um,
you like women who like you. If a woman is really showing
yeah,
that she likes you, you're
yeah,
gonna be
Oh,
with it.
yeah,
that's one of the main things
yeah.
you like about a
But
woman is that you got good taste.
what you
You
just
like me, that
just
means you
said.
got great taste in men.
What you just said, Jamie. What you just said, I think is the key, right? I think is the key because nowadays women, and I'm not going to say all women, but nowadays a lot of women, because they have that bachelor's, that doctorate, that they got a little bit of money, a little bit of change, they been to San Tropez and all of these nice places, right? They feel like, well, hey, you know what, I can show you as a man that I'm just as strong as you. And that's not what men want. We want you to be vulnerable. We want you to come to us and say, I need you. I need your help. Because this is what men do. This is why men are in the army and the armed forces, because we are providers and protectors. But if you're coming to us telling us you independent, you don't need no providing and protecting, then you're not really coming to us saying, I want to rock with you.
See, I think we need to massage that narrative just a little bit. Okay, so for one, I didn't go to college and I don't care about none of that stuff. So I don't have that same mentality in a sense. However, what I can say about the whole providing and protecting thing and why a lot of women are screaming independence now, which also ties into the video, is let me start with the video. If you're going to tell women at that age to go after getting married, then as much as you invest in going to college, you better be investing on understanding who you are and what you got going on so you can actually vet and choose wisely. Because I too was 19, 20, 21. I was engaged. We was outside. Like it was a whole thing. Nobody knew what they were doing. So there would need to be some education, as high as an investment as you're willing to go in debt and student loans, on how to vet a man and to even know who you are, which is all still changing at that point. Number two, a lot of women that are screaming about being independent have been hurt by men, including Eboni K. One of the reasons why she got her walls up is because no man has ever taken care of her. Her father didn't do that, blah, blah, blah. So some women are coming from a standpoint like, it sucks. There's no softening there, but the right man can soften it. I'm not saying it's all his job, but I'm just saying that women have done that and are doing it as protection against men who have not been there. There's been so many examples of men who were not proud to provide and protect. If you ask them for something, there's dudes, it gets really weird. There's dudes that just want to take care of their kids, just want to take care of their mamas. There's dudes that ain't finna do nothing for you if you're not, that they don't know. I mean, the list goes on for reasons why we have not been able to collectively rely on men to provide and protect. A lot of men have been gunning for us to have sex. A lot have been through sexual abuse. Like there's just so much where we don't feel provided and protected for. So I know women are like, well, what are you going to do for me? You can still love us. If we've been to San Tropez, we ain't been with you. There's still so much room for men to show up, but men got to leave all of that, all the narratives that we just spat. You got to leave that and stand in the truth of who you are and get what you want. And this is why I'm saying I want to see a boldness from men, because without that, like everything's a little bit convoluted right now because of all those
Well,
stuff.
I think the boldness comes from men that say, um, we got to stop doing that. Like I think, and when I say stop doing that, I just think it has to be a culture change
Yeah.
where young women don't worry about going to college until after they're married and have kids.
So what's the protocol
And
for that though? Because that doesn't work for everybody. And we don't know who we are. Our prefrontal cortex is not even fully developed at that time. So what are we really getting into? We have to have an awareness of that. It sounds
Look,
good, but you're gonna be
look.
divorced in 5 years. We
I
changed too
mean,
much.
that's probably I don't know if that's worse than not being married at all.
Mm,
Like, is it worse than not being married at all? Is it
I
worse
don't know.
than not
It's
than
Divorce is pretty brutal from what I've seen from the outside.
It don't seem like living single is much further from that either.
But that's the thing. It's both sides of the coin. That's why
I
when
just
she was
like
like,
to. You never hear this side of divorce because most people do say it's brutal, and it probably is for most people. But for just in some cases, divorce can be so beautiful. Divorce
yeah.
can be the gift that just continues to keep on giving, and you never really hear that side of it. So I'd like to, uh, you know, just be able to
But
testify.
the thing is after that you still single, so it's just like, or you get into a relationship after. But again, what's the difference between somebody who's single and somebody who's single after divorce? It's still, everybody's still single, so does it matter?
I'm
Well,
raising.
What?
You
I
can't. I'm raising my hand. Ooh,
Oh,
teacher, pick me.
I
you with a big
like
ass smile on your face.
The
I think
difference.
like you said, Jamie. I think we have to, there has to be an education that is rolled out. With the culture change that says here's how to pick a man. I think we had a conversation where I said, a couple of weeks ago, women shouldn't be picking men. They should be having a man that they trust and admire picking men for them.
Yeah.
It's a very new concept for women. So, I think there needs to be a re-education because women picking their men and finding suitors and stuff, it's really really new. And not only is it something that women haven't honed that skill on, women weren't born to have that skill. You don't even have the equipment to do that, to practice and be good at that skill.
And not only that, also men have learned how to hack it. So
Yeah,
now they figured out,
Correct.
yeah,
you in charge of this process?
yeah,
Oh, I
Correct.
know how to make this look good to you, baby.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And this
The
is why
people.
women want their own money and their own, because they're like, But it's back to what you're saying, KB, because we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's got to go. It actually has to. It's the law of diminishing returns, right? Like women fought for, through suffrage, right? And they're like, hey, we want this, we want that. And yes, some of those things women should have gotten. But then you hit a certain limit and everything starts to go against you. It's the law of diminishing returns where there's progress only goes up to a certain point. And then everything after that is regressive. And I think
But I
I
think we're
think
in that
that's what.
together, no?
Well, yeah, I definitely think we're in that together, and I think this is why I say, like, men have to start re-educating women on how this whole thing works, and then we have to do a culture change where we say, hey, we're actually going to go back to the time where men and women relationships were actually better, and this was a time where everybody thought about living in the power of your masculinity as a man and your
Mm-mm.
femininity as a woman. Not your masculinity and you out here working like men and trying to raise and trying to make money like men and all this. Because this is what
Mm-mm.
happened. Men have made
It's for
this
the
world.
birds.
Yeah, men have made this world so easy that women can actually earn money like men. Where in the
But I
beginning of
think we did
time.
this
Right, right. But this
because
is
now,
but the
because
only way that happened was because men made this world so easy.
I
That's
don't think
how.
so.
Well, if men had
I
never
got an
made this world
argument to that.
easy, if men had never made this world easy, we'd be back in the caveman days, doing everything manually, and women could not women could not protect and provide in that world at all.
But here's the thing, though. I really think, and I don't even want to use this word, but I'm gonna have to do it. I think it is a more imbalanced, like patriarchy type of thing, because this is what we're doing as men and women, because the men did get softer because
Hmm.
of the conveniences and because of, just as much as you talk about men should vet women, I mean, men should vet men for women. There's two things. One, men need to go through a rite of passage. I read something, a whole thing that whatever I read, after 7 to 10 years old, got to get off mama's titty, go outside with your daddy, go to the woods, do
Oh,
whatever
that
you
should have
do.
happened way before 7 to 10.
Well, it was
But
just
yeah, but
something
no,
that I
you're
was
right. You're
reading.
right. You're
Yeah.
not wrong.
So you
Yeah.
could get that rite of passage and your balls
Mhm.
can drop or whatever's supposed to happen between men. And additionally, and you guys both tell me if you want to share, were you raised to be husbands? Because here we are, women, get your Mrs. Girl, who we marrying? These dudes are talking about, ooh, it's 7-1 out here. We had a good time in
I wasn't
college.
raised to be
They're
a
not talking about
No.
husband.
I was
No.
not
So
raised
how
to be
does
a husband, and
Mm-mm.
I didn't make a great husband.
okay,
Like
so that's what
Mm-mm.
I'm saying. So what are you really asking us to do?
I'm not
Yeah.
asking y'all to do nothing.
Well, I
Well,
I'm
think,
but
just
you know
trying
what
to.
I'm saying.
I think what I'm asking everyone to do is, like I said, men go back into their masculinity and women go back into their femininity. Meaning, yeah, I was not raised to be a husband, and the reason I wasn't raised to be a husband is because I was told that as a man, I was supposed to treat a woman in a certain manner. And that manner was put this woman on a pedestal and let her dictate how things are done. And that's not how it's supposed to be as a husband. As a husband, you are supposed to lead. And when you don't know that you're supposed to lead as a husband and you start putting a woman on a pedestal, then she starts to resent you because you're not taking your masculine lead. All right. Flip that around. You have the women who don't know how to be wives. They don't want to be submissive. They don't want to do anything that their husbands tell them to. So they pick men that they don't have to trust. And then we start this whole circle of death, this spiral of death, because the men are acting like women and the women are acting like men. And neither one of us like each other because men don't like women who act like men and women don't like men who act like women. Or whatever the fuck I just said.
Well,
Right.
Right?
here's what I'm asking y'all to do. I'll tell you very clearly. I'm asking y'all to click that goddamn subscribe, that bell. I'm asking you to share this with the hard-headed ass baby daddy, cousin, baby sister, uncle. Let them know. Get the conversation out there, man. This is bigger than Nino Brown. It's bigger than us here on
It's
this show.
so much bigger. I'm almost exhausted talking about it because I'm like, I
I see it.
understand where we're all coming from, but
I
how?
see it in you, Jamie. I know.
How? I'm
Yeah.
so how? How do we,
I know,
you
girl.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's definitely a huge opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's a huge obstacle. But yeah, it's a huge undertaking and at some point
It's not
if
happening
people
in our lifetime.
yeah, it might not. It
It's
might
not.
not. But
Well,
all
let's
we
get
can
it taken
do,
and live long enough to see it. Shit.
yeah, all we can do
Oof.
is get wins one at a time. So if I get a win, if Miles get a win, Jamie, you get a win, then that's all we can do. All we can
That
do is
is
get wins.
that is my ask. I
Yeah.
am open. I didn't even want to open and be like, okay, any race, any whatever. But if there is a good black man for me, I'm really excited about us being able to work together and just being the change we want to see in the world.